So I'm excited about this video that we're doing today is we're getting to the purpose of all the things we do here at Cardinal, and specifically the YouTube channel, which just a lot of that happened by accident. We were just posting videos that we were using elsewhere, and they just took on a life of their own, and we got all of you following us now. And so this whole thing was built around the 7 worries in retirement. And the 7 worries have a lot more to do with just 7 things you worry about. It's our way of creating categories of the key items that you need to make decisions about really in your 60s. Some of these decisions you can make in your 50s. A lot of people make these decisions in their 70s because they either retired too late or they didn't make these decisions. They just kind of made little ones all around, and then all of a sudden they're in their 70s and they're thinking, I need to make some sense of all this. I'll go see some financial planners. So, what we're wanting to do today is just show you our process and really boil it down. What are the decisions that you need to make under Social Security, decisions under Medicare, decisions about long-term care, decisions about 401k, decisions about income, decisions about estate planning, and decisions about taxes. And then that's a mouthful. And then you put them all together and they mix together like soup, because every time you make a decision in one area, it affects other areas. So I want to bring Tom on to just share in a clear manner why we're doing this video.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing this video because when people come into our office and they hear we do financial planning, all they think we do is the investments, picking the stocks, the bonds, the mutual funds. That's really the scope of what they think they're getting. When in reality, we do a lot more than that, right? We have these 7 areas here at Cardinal. We've really defined them and helped sort of have some structure around this. But most problems in retirement really fall into one of these areas, and so what we want to do today is just walk through, like Hans was saying, all the different areas, give you a little bit of taste of some of the thinking we do, some of the questions we ask on these different subjects. And then, if you're interested, if you're wanting more numbers and more something personal to you, call us, and we do this every day. So,
Okay, we want to show the show notes, Tom.
oh, good point. So, we have these show notes. Today's are pretty light, but they're down at the link of the uh, link below our video here. They're also on our website. We really just have the picture of the board. Some people like you print it out; they can see it better than they can say on their phone or something. And then the next page is really just a picture of our website, cardinalguide.com. You'll notice that the 7 sort of topic areas we have listed on our website match what we have on the boards, and so it's all very consistent throughout. But that's what we have in the show notes today.
Okay, and you're going to find the YouTube channel is laid out in these 7 sections or 7 worries. So if you want to watch several videos, you can just go to that section and just dig in. So we're going to start off on the first worry, the first set of decisions, Social Security. Okay, and with Social Security, the first thing you need to learn is what's your FRA, what's your full retirement age. For most people coming into us now, born in 1958, 59, 57, it's either 67 years old or 66 and 8 months, so close to 67. But that's an important thing for you to understand and know what it is before you get down to the other decisions. Talk about the age that you personally want to start your Social Security. Many people come into us with a bias, or they've already kind of made this decision, but we always tell them or ask them to hold off, because we're going to do financial planning, look at their whole picture, and then we're going to make a recommendation. They don't necessarily have to follow it, but it'd be helpful to wait till you hear the rest before you make the decision. And the age range is you could start it as early as 62, you could start it as late as 70. So there's 8 years, 12 months difference. Any one of those months you can start it, and it's going to affect your income for life. You need to understand the spouse benefits on Social Security, both while you're living and then after one of you passes away. So your Social Security, if you're married, or if you were married in the past and you didn't remarry till 60 or after, your spouse benefits are an effect on the whole picture with Social Security. So there's a whole lot of information to learn about that. And then we need to learn, and you need to learn about your other money. and your other resources, which it gets over here and down here. Um, so if we're going to delay Social Security, what are we going to live on during the 5 years or 3 years or whatever that we're waiting to start Social Security? So I'd like to bring Tom on, and Tom's going to talk to you about Medicare.
Yeah, I mean, so with Medicare, and this actually relates a little bit back to Social Security too. One of the first questions is, are you still working? And so Medicare, you're first eligible, most people at 65. Some people get it via disability, but we're not going to talk about that today. So let's assume you're 65. One of the first questions they ask, are you still working? And how many people are in that company? And do you have what they consider credible coverage? Because if you do, you can delay Medicare. So we have lots of videos on that. The next really decision that we need to consider is, do we want to go with original Medicare and a Medicare supplement or a Medicare Advantage plan? And those are two separate choices. One of the other important sort of time frames to consider, and this might be tied back to whether you're delaying Medicare Part B or not, is what the Medicare open enrollment period is. So this is for those Medicare supplement plans, is they give you a 6-month window from the date that your Part B starts where they don't ask any health questions. So you could have cancer, you could have surgery pending, you could have all sorts of things, and they will take you no matter what. And so we want to really consider that, because if you miss it, which we have people come to us that have missed it, now they have to answer health questions. These companies could turn you down. You might not be able to get a Medicare supplement. So we want to make sure that we're understanding how that works. And then the sort of, and there's a lot more than this, but the one we have on the board here is IRMA. And so if you have a high income, and again, they look at your income from 2 years ago, if it's higher than the thresholds, you'll have to pay extra for Medicare. So we want to consider that. And again, that relates to your IRA, that relates to your Social Security, because all that income coming in from those things will impact that IRMA amount. And so that's part of the thing that we're doing in our plans here. And so, John, or Hans, you can take over the long term care one.
Okay. So long term care got several issues that we need to think about with that. I mean, starting with your documents. You don't want to wind up needing long term care and not have a durable power of attorney, a healthcare power of attorney, and a HIPAA release in process, in place. And all of a sudden, you're needing care. You can't make decisions for yourself. And then who's going to make the decision? So this thing starts off with documents, and you're going to want to get those in order. The next one is that I'm going to ask you is, if something hits you, like you have a stroke or develop Parkinson's, develop dementia, that happens and you need care, what kind of effect is that going to have on your family? I mean, it's going to have a big effect on you, but it's your family that's going to bear the burden for this. And we recommend for people, if you can qualify, that you get some long-term care insurance, even if it's for a short period of time. Because, what I want to talk about is the kids and the spouse responsibility during a crisis. Is you're responsible for your parents, and you're responsible for your brothers and sisters, and your kids are responsible for you. Your spouse is responsible for you. And they may not act like it, they may not know that, but when somebody has one of these things, so I just really want to ask in a question, I want you to ask that question to yourself. Something like that happens to me. I need care. I need the family to get around. Is it going to be helpful to have a plan in place that includes long-term care insurance? So the last thing we're worrying about during this crisis is money. And then, I also want to just ask and talk about home health care. That's the biggest growing place. That's where I intend to use my long-term care insurance as long as I possibly can, is to have the people come into my home and take care of me, giving my wife, if she's still active in the life, so she can have a life where there's professionals in there doing. She's going to be caring for me enough, even with the professionals coming in. I want you to ask yourself, like, what am I going to do, and where do I want to stay? Where do I want to be if I do need care? So I want to turn it over to Tom to talk about the IRA 401k.
And this is a big one, right? I mean, I mentioned earlier in the why of the show, this is what most people think we focus everything on. And it's a piece of it, and we consider it for sure. But one of the first questions we ask is, what is this IRA money for? I cannot tell you the number of people that walk through our door that they have no plan for this, right? They have done a great job saving, which is very admirable. They were disciplined and saved well, but they also don't spend really much money and they're comfortable, right? They're not going without. And they really have no plans for what this IRA money is for. And when we ask this question, they kind of look at us with a blank stare of like, what do you mean? It's to grow. It's like, well, I mean, maybe, but if that's the case, then is it to go to your kids? Is there an estate legacy? Do we want to? We need to have a goal with this money because money is a tool, right? It's not the end all be all. We need to make sure we have a plan for what to do with this. Part of that plan and part of what we're going to do is ask maybe we want to make the distributions or plan around those distributions, especially around RMDs. So the IRS has come out and told us that at a certain age, it's between 73 and 75 based off when you were born, is the IRS says you have to start taking money out. We need to have a plan with that. And what we might be doing is taking distributions prior to the RMD start, really from this tax plan situation, is we want to take into consideration, look at the tax brackets, look at your other income, consider the IRMA consequences, but really come up with a plan of how to draw this down in the most efficient way where you're not sending a lot of this money back to the IRS or the state government. Part of that again is the estate beneficiaries. Is do you one, we want to check the beneficiaries. So that's a big thing because a lot of people don't realize that beneficiaries supersede the will. Meaning, if you have something listed on the beneficiary of that account that's different than your will, the beneficiary is going to take precedent. That's what's going to happen. We've had clients come in with ex spouses, people they've been divorced from, listed as the beneficiary. That's obviously can be a messy situation. So we want to account for that and then really just come up with a plan of like, where is this money going? What taxes are they going to owe when they get it? If your plan is to leave it to a charity, that might not be doing Roth conversions, right? Might want to leave it in that account and just give it to the charity because the charity doesn't have to pay taxes. So I could spend all day talking about all these different things, but we really need to have a plan of how to handle this IRA and 401k from a tax planning standpoint, as well as the investments and how it's invested. And are you taking too much risk and all of that stuff?
Okay, I think you missed Roth conversion.
Roth conversions, I touched on it a little bit, but yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that we will look at doing with these accounts is should we do Roth conversions, which again is intentionally taking money out, paying taxes on it now, putting it into an account that earns the money, the earnings are tax free, then ultimately that money gets passed to the next generation tax free as well. So that's something that we do a lot in our practice, especially taking advantage of the low tax brackets we have currently.
Yeah, and some of that's a philosophical decision with Roth conversions. I mean, some people are prone to do it. They understand they got to take the hit on the taxes for later benefits. There's other people, they're just not doing it and they don't really want to talk much about it. And of course, we honor and respect that, but this is something you need to get yourself educated on, and then you're going to need to make decisions, even if the decision is to not do them. Okay, so the next one, income. I mean, when we get into income, I mean, at the very beginning, first up there is risk assessment. So the assumption is that a lot of your money is currently at risk if you're just coming into us for retirement. Now, that's not everybody, but it's a lot of people that they've got this big balance in a 401k and they've gotten it big by having it at risk. And they've been putting money in every year and they've been kind of counting that as in the investment returns as they watch it grow and grow and grow. And then when you retired, you stop putting money in and then you start taking money out. And it's time to maybe dial down the risk a bit. So we're going to want to just sit down with both spouses and do a risk assessment where we're going to pull some things out of you about, again, philosophical, about risk and how you handle risk. We're going to give you a lot of the objective data about how much risk we feel you should be taking, but we really want to hear from you. And we've got a lot of latitude in this of ending up like how much of this money do we want to have invested in stocks? Because that's a fundamental thing that we need to know before we start allocating things or making recommendations. Okay, then the next thing you need to learn about is spending principle. I mean, many folks come into us and they've just got like, I need to earn a certain amount, like 5% or 7% or 3% or just whatever their number that they've come up with simplifying it, and they're thinking, well, if I got $1 million and I earn 4%, I can spend $40,000 a year, and that'll be what I'll live off of. Well, and so when you get in to start spending the principal, if you want to, first of all, you may or may not earn 4% a year or 5% or whatever number. But then the second thing is, if you need more than whatever the number that you're going to earn of interest, you're going to be spending little bits of your principal all along and winding it down. So we want people to understand spending interest, spending growth, and then spending principal, especially when it comes to a big IRA account and the effects of that. And then, what I kind of go down to last is a solution for that that allows you to systematically spend your principal and your interest without the fear of ever running out of money, at least on that portion of it, is an income annuity, because it guarantees the payments as long as either one of you is alive. And then we really need to get into longevity into your 80s and 90s. And we have some people, oh, we're never going to live that long, or I'm not going to live that long. She might. And look, one of you or both of you, or if you're single, you might live a lot longer than you think you're going to live. And so we as financial planners, we're at least going to consider that. And, guessing at the length of your life is not real practical. So we're going to assume that you might live a long time, especially when we start spending your principal to create a lifestyle for you. So this is a little subjective. There's a lot of objective parts about it, especially when you get into using annuities. But the whole category of income is going to cover all of these sections, and we need to know certain things about how you feel about certain things and things that you're worried about and your affinity for risk. Okay, I want to turn it over to Tom to talk about estate planning.
Yeah, so the next section, and again, we really build our financial plans based off these 7 sections, but the next section is the estate planning. And the first question, the first thing we need to address in estate planning is the surviving spouse. If you're married, the first beneficiary of your assets is really making sure that your surviving spouse is taken care of. And that can relate back to Social Security, because we might be recommending you delay your Social Security till 70, because that higher check will remain for the surviving spouse when the first spouse passes away. So that's step number one. Then again, to the beneficiaries, and this ties back to the IRAs and everything else, is we want to make sure who you want your money to go to is actually who ends up receiving the money, right? I mean, that could be kids, it could be spouses, it could be charities, whatever it is. We want to make sure we have a plan in place that is consistent throughout the accounts. It's consistent in the will. It's consistent in everything else. This gets a little bit trickier when you have second marriages, right? I mean, if you're a second marriage, which is a lot of our clients, they might have kids from previous marriages. We really need to sit down and talk about, okay, when the first one of you dies, does this money go to the surviving spouse, when in most situation it needs to, for them to be okay? How do we do that while also taking care of the kids from the previous marriage? And life insurance is a great way to do that. There's other strategies you can use, but that's a big problem that we need to address. And a lot of people ignore it. They're really setting up their family for problems when they pass away, because that's really what causes a lot of tension, is when people start dying and there's money involved, it can get really messy pretty quickly. And so that's something we need to address in the plan. Um, Related to that is the use of either wills or trusts. And so these are fundamentally documents that tell what happened to your assets after you pass away, but they're different. And so we want to make sure, like, is the will, is all you need a will? Which a lot of people, that's probably all they need. If it's a pretty simple estate, everything passes to my wife, everything then goes to the kids. A lot of that can be done by beneficiaries anyways that pass outside the will, but you still need to have a will in place to catch the sort of the catch-all, where it receives anything that was missed with the beneficiary designation, that then instructs what happens to these assets. Trusts are another way they can do this. I will tell you, a lot of attorneys will say that most people need trusts. Trusts are very useful when needed. They can be expensive. They can be complicated to administer. So just be a little bit wary. Not everyone needs a trust, but when they're needed, they're very useful tools to be able to help, essentially give you post-death control of your money after you're gone. And then really the last one, and this is a question that we ask a lot of our clients on the way in, is what is sort of, do you have a plan? Do you have a real goal to really give a set amount of money to your kids? Some people, that's really the main focus of everything they're doing is I want to pass as much as I can to my kids for whatever reason that is. That's really their goal. And we want to hear that because we're going to recommend things differently for people like that than ones who are maybe in the other camp where it's like, hey, I want to make sure I'm okay. My spouse is okay. We want to enjoy retirement. What's left over will go to the kids. We don't want to cut them out, but our main focus isn't to leave them a big estate. We really want to enjoy it ourselves. And so, really, we need to understand what your goals are from that standpoint because that impacts a lot of the other planning we do in really all these other areas.
Okay. Yeah, this is the second marriage thing and the children and the stepchildren. And then people are coming into us and they've gotten married recently, and then there's grandchildren. And a lot of people haven't really thought through that, especially if the surviving spouse needs the bulk of the money to go on living the way they were living when they were a couple. And so then when you take care of that, you have the children of the spouse who just, or the person who just died, coming to the last service, and everything went to their stepmother. And so it's good to really talk through this stuff and then make sure that there's something there for the kids of the person that just died. And you know, what I do a lot of times is I leave something to all the kids, or I have the people set it up, and that's where life insurance is a great tool. And it doesn't even have to be a large amount to be significant. Then taxes, we put them last because it's really bad financial planning, in my opinion, to start with taxes. And unfortunately, some people do that, is they want to cut their tax bill, and they're willing to do anything to do it. And when that's the first priority, you end up making poor decisions in a lot of these other areas. So we've been doing tax planning all the way through all 7 of them. And then the 7th one, then we're going to really put it there as an issue, and then put it together as a plan and get it in the right place. And we'd like to help you pay less in taxes over the whole of your retirement. But it's not ahead of other goals that you have typically. Now, the first one is tax bracket management. And what I'll tell you is a lot of people don't even really understand how tax brackets work. I'm not going to get into it today. We have other videos on that. But I will tell you that you go and you might choose, when you're doing Roth conversions, to convert up to the next bracket when those brackets are in the 20% of federal tax. So we have a thing called tax bracket management, where we're going to educate you on what the tax brackets are and some moves that you can make that'll be tax favorable to you. We talked about Roth conversion, and we're going to show you, you know, at least our philosophy on that. We're going to make a recommendation. It's not for everybody, but it's for a lot of people. And then the amounts and the years and the timing, that's all part of our deal. Social Security tax, your provisional income, is that what I want to relate this one back to that one is, when you're getting your Social Security, it's taxed based on this formula for provisional income. So it's really your other income besides Social Security that you're taxed on. And then it's that number that determines whether you pay tax or how much tax you pay on your Social Security. So these things are playing off of each other. We just want to acknowledge that in the tax section. And then what I've really put down, what I said in the beginning, the other 6 worries, is all 7 of these things have tax implications, income tax implications, state income tax implications. And we have the benefit of planning. And because a lot of retirees are pulling money out of their IRA, which is, you're in effect in control of what your recognized income is year by year by year in the future. So we sit down and figure that out to make it as favorable as it can be. So I want to bring Tom back on, and I want to make a point that a lot of people, when they come into us. And we're very thankful that so many people watch YouTube and they come into us and they are just, I mean, they're like ready to go. They feel like they know us. I mean, it's wonderful. And they've watched 20 to 30 videos. And I think a lot of it is they came to us over one of these things. And then in the process of watching the videos, they got interested in another one and another one and another one. I don't know the order you're all watching them, and I don't just spend a lot of time with that. But I think that the people that have watched a lot of videos just get a bit of education in all of this. And that's not everybody, though. Some people watch a video or two and they call us up and they say, man, I want you to do this for me. And they're not interested in learning all this stuff. They just want to be confident we know it. And they want us to tell them what to do in the 7 areas. And we'll do that. We'll also point you to, we're going to give you enough information to make a good educated decision. And that's really been the goal of our videos all along. Even if you never call us, we're doing a real good for people to educate them in a, we think is a simple way. So I want to bring Tom on and I want to hear what Tom has to say about the whole process.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. When I interviewed here at Cardinal, and this has been 10 years ago, I think now, or over 10 years. Hans really laid this out. We hadn't read the book yet. We hadn't done the videos yet, obviously, but he really had this idea in mind of these 7 areas, and it's really just blossomed here. And what makes us different than other advisors is all of these. If you look at that board, we got arrows pointing every which direction, right? These are all connected, and it's hard to make decisions in one area if you don't know what the impact is on these other areas. And most people make decisions that way, right? They get really knowledgeable, say on Medicare, they make some decisions and they go forward and they're probably fine, but they could have maybe been better off by doing something else. Or they maybe have this really strong tax plan, but they haven't considered the impact it has on everything else. And so, really, what we do, what sets us apart, is we can take all of these areas, give you a cohesive plan where we tie all of them back together and really give you really good advice when we're taking into everything into consideration as a whole. And so, if you're interested, just call us. We're here to help. We'd love to talk to you. So you can find us there on our website, cardinalguide.com.
Yeah, and so it goes without saying we covered all 7 areas today. So I'm going to check all the boxes, keep our producer happy. And that said, I'm Hans Scheil.
And I'm Tom Griffith.
And we thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you.